guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm wanting to share my story about getting diagnosed with gastroparesis and kind of like what led up to it. I have a notebook here and my phone here with a bunch of notes. So let's jump into it. Okay, so I've had gastro issues for like probably my entire life, honestly. And I've always been underweight for my height and my age, but in 2021, my gastro stuff like really started to affect me and started to get a lot worse. And I had previously, when my symptoms started to get really bad, I was doing stuff for my cardiac, which is a whole other video. And so we did not do an appointment right away because we were trying to figure out everything cardiac going on with me. And so we just kept pushing it off until we couldn't anymore. But my symptoms consisted of severe nausea, severe bloating, like really bad stomach pain, vomiting after I'd eat or drink, feeling full after just a few bites. My blood sugar would fluctuate. I was losing weight like crazy. I was feeling weak 24/7. I was also always fatigued, but like could never sleep. I constantly was getting migraines. My hands and my feet were so cold all the time. I was having joint pain, and obviously I was like malnourished, so I was having malnutrition. So finally we decided it was time to make an appointment with the GI clinic at Children's Hospital. And I had yet to be diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or POTS at the time. So this is all like we only knew about my Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome at this point in time in most of these appointments. So my first GI appointment was May 17th of 2022, and it was via telehealth. During that appointment, obviously I had shared what was going on, all of my symptoms, and we were recommended to get blood work done, an abdominal x-ray, and an upper GI series. An upper GI series is where they stick, or upper GI series. It's also known as a barium swallow study. And so I had to drink this like barium stuff. It was really chalky and really gross. In an x-ray. And they literally watched me swallow it in the x-ray. It was kind of cool to watch, not gonna lie. And so to have that done to try and find what was causing my symptoms. So I had the blood work and the x-ray and the upper GI series done on June 15th of 2022. Nothing was found on either the normal abdominal x-ray or the upper GI series. Along with my blood work only supported malnutrition. I didn't show really anything else. So because my results came back normal, nothing really came of that. My next appointment was August 25th of 2022. In this appointment, we came up with the plan of getting an abdominal ultrasound and to start a medication called Levsin. Now, at my other appointment, I had been started on another medication called Periactin. I was on that for a month and a half, and all it ever did was make me exhausted and super hungry. And I never had the issue of being hungry. It was that when I was hungry and I was eating, I was throwing up and I just wasn't keeping stuff down. So I was started on a medication called Levsin. That also did not help me. I don't remember any what side effects I had with it. All I know is it just didn't help me. I think that one caused a lot of headaches for me. So neither of those helped any of my symptoms. I was also taking Zofran. So Zofran has been my bestie. So the next time I had spoken to my GI between June 15th and to the next time was March 8th on 2023, where they had reached out to us via phone call, and we had missed the phone call. So they had sent a message to schedule an appointment. We then had an appointment on March 16th of 2023. Between June 15th, 2022 and March 16th, 2023, I had fought to get a test done called a gastric emptying study. And this is where you eat typically you eat radioactive eggs and toast in 30 minutes, and then you get a scan done of your stomach it's like you get one before to ensure that your stomach is empty, one right after you finish eating, and then one 15 minutes, one half an hour, and then after that half hour mark, it's every hour, and it's like a 4 to 5 hour test. And I'd fought to get that test because I was looking at my symptoms, and I was looking online, and I was looking and looking because I was desperate to figure out what was going on. And I had come across a creator, Kenna K is what she is on YouTube, and Kenna Kruger, and she shared her story and what was going on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many of those symptoms. That genuinely sounds like what I might be going through. And so I had decided I was going to do like in-depth research on gastroparesis, and it just all was sounding exactly like what was going on with me. And so I had fought for this test because a gastric emptying study is typically how they diagnose gastroparesis. So I had fought for months. I finally got my GI to agree to the test, and I had the gastric emptying study on January 30th of 2022. So at my appointment in March of 2023, we discussed the results. They seemed to have been normal to my gastric emptying study. I got another x-ray of my stomach and more blood work. I tried more medications that never helped. And so they only ever gave me side effects. Then on May 25th of 2023, we received a referral to a neurogastroenterology to the neurogastroenterology and motility program at Children's Hospital, Colorado. We had a regular appointment on June 8th, 2023, where I was told I likely had brain-gut disconnect, and it was just all in my head. I was advised to go to the neurogastroenterologist, but also to see GI psychology, because they were under the impression that a little bit of therapy would help me out and it would fix my brain-gut pathway issue. And I had been told that several times, and the multiple months of fighting for trying to figure out what was going on, and it was just a battle. So then on July 13th of 2023, I had probably the longest appointment I've ever had in my entire life with the neurogastroenterologist. This appointment was 4 hours long. We get to the appointment, and pretty much I meet with a nurse first. I tell the nurse all the symptoms, everything. The nurse then goes and talks to the doctor. The doctor then decides who comes in your room first to talk to you, because there's multiple different systems going on, because it's a multidisciplinary clinic. So you meet with several different types of people. So originally, I was supposed to have a dietitian come into my room, because that's what the nurse thought was most important for me to see first. No, he decides he wants psych to come into my room first. So I meet with GI psychology, and they practically ask me if I'm doing this to myself, and then they tell me that I have severe anxiety and stress and that I need to learn how to manage that, and that's what's causing this. Mind you, in my chart from my last GI at Children's, I have panic attacks and anxiety in my chart, which I have never been diagnosed with. I've had one panic attack in my entire life, and it was after I passed out for the very first time. Like, I feel as though that's a normal emotion to have when you pass out for the very first time ever. But I mean, pop off, I guess. So we meet with GI psychology. It's me and my dad at this appointment because my mom is out of town. So it's me and my dad at this appointment. And they're asking my dad, GI psychology is asking my dad, so what kind of person is Marissa? And he's like saying, like, I'm just this happy-go-lucky, like I I am so calm and happy all the time, and I don't suffer from anxiety or depression or any of this. Like I have always been a very happy person, and I know how to deal with my stuff. Like I have learned how to deal with my stuff. And so we spend like probably an hour with them. They leave. Next was supposed to come in was dietitian. I think dietitian came in next, but they were online. They were on an iPad. So we meet with them and we talk about all of the different diets I have tried. I have a list here of all the diets I tried to figure out if it was allergies or something. And I did all of these diets for at least a month. I went dairy-free, gluten-free, low FODMAP, which is what they recommend for gastroparesis, low fiber, small and frequent meals, Ensure Clear, Ensure Original, Ensure High Protein, Ensure Max Protein, Soylent, Premium Protein, Boost, Breakfast Essentials, Gatorade Super Shake, and 2 different kinds of Kate Farms. And I didn't tolerate any of it. So, dietitian, we come up with a game plan. I don't really remember what the game plan was. Let me look. So game plan was to start mixing in Kate Farms with foods that I could possibly tolerate. So like milk, coffee, cereal, stuff like that. Sorry, we had a scenery change. So I was talking about like what the recommendations were, and I found it. So recommendations, I just had it. That's actually really funny. So in that neurogastroenterology appointment, you meet with physical therapy, psychology, dietitian, and then like the actual doctor and a nurse. So I have pelvic floor dysmotility, so I was recommended to start pelvic floor physical therapy, along with given a referral to GI psychology. So that was fun. I hated that appointment. It was the worst appointment ever. The doctor came in. He was the last person I saw in a 4-hour appointment. I had seen him one time. He was the last person. He came in and automatically started going, yeah, brain gut health issue is a very typical thing for young teenage girls. And he literally said to me, a grown man said to me, a teenage girl, I know what it's like to be a young teenage girl in today's society. And I was like, I know you did not just say that to me. I was so upset. It was, so, yeah, that was great. Then August 15th of 2023, I had an appointment with nutrition because I still was unable to tolerate any food at this point. I was throwing everything up. I was not tolerating anything. I was dropping weight like crazy. And so we had an appointment with them. I don't remember what our game plan was. I think it was to try popsicles, make Pedialyte popsicles and stuff like that. Just try anything that's easy to digest at this point. And just snack all the time during the day. So that was that. And then August 28th of 2023, I received a phone call from my GI because at that appointment with nutrition on August 15th, 2023, I had voiced how I had felt in my neurogastroenterology appointment. It was the worst appointment of my entire life. The psychologist was telling me that she thinks I'm doing it to myself. The only 2 people I liked in that appointment were the pelvic floor therapist and the dietitian. And the dietitian doesn't even work there anymore, which sucks. So that was terrible. And so I had voiced all of that and everything that had been said to me that was like really upsetting in that appointment to the nutritionist at that appointment. Then August 28th of 2023, I receive a phone call from my GI. This is the note from the phone. She tried to call my mom, but she didn't get my mom, so she left a voicemail. She then calls me. It says, call then to Marissa, very frustrated with NGM appointment. Said he never asked questions, just automatically started off. Seemed he had a plan in place before hearing the whole story. RX, the medication I was taking, it was a syrup version of a medication I'd already taken. Vomiting it up every time she takes it, unsure if things are worse. To her, it feels like her normal. Boyfriend and mother feel it is worse. Eating, not keeping anything down. 500 calorie daily, if that. Sometimes way less than that. Hearing from them is worse. Energy is much worse. Lots more fatigue. Getting through day is super difficult. Can't stay awake. Feels tired 20 minutes after waking. Vomiting depends on what she has eaten. If no food, hopefully doesn't vomit. If eating or drinking at all, vomits. If eating, 20 minutes to a few hours later vomiting. If a meal, will vomit up to 4 times, maybe more. All foods feel the same to her. No blood and vomit is a big volume even if hours later. Stooling, pretty rare that she will go 1 to 2 times per week. Not hard to get out, no blood, no abdominal pain. Sometimes only, nothing major compared to the nausea and vomiting. So I had actually been to the emergency room 3 times in like this whole span for severe stomach pain. Because I was in so much pain, I like physically couldn't move and I was throwing up from the pain and I was pale and stuff like that. So we then received another phone call the next day on August 29th, 2023. This phone call is to discuss a plan with me. She then tells me it's probably better to seek second opinion through adult GI. Then can consider admission for NG versus NJ, but concerns for ongoing vomiting. Will trial erythromycin first as only motility med tried thus far as periactin. If helpful, may consider repeat solid phase gastric emptying study at UC Health. Better protocol if no improvements. Consider IP admission. Also needs BCO. I don't know what that means. Concerned about her keeping meds down, but want to try. Modifications made after discussion with Marissa. Instructions sent via my chart. So I had been started on a medication called erythromycin. I was told erythromycin, if you do not have gastro issues and you do not have delayed gastric emptying, erythromycin will give you diarrhea. Like literally the first time you take it, you will have diarrhea. I took it for 2 weeks and I had no change besides the fact that I was getting like really bad side effects. I was not having diarrhea at all. I had no changes in gastric at all. So instead of upping the dosage or telling me I can take it more than like the prescribed amount of times, she was like, well, because you don't have any changes with that, you don't have delayed gastric emptying, which was super frustrating. So then in the beginning of September of 2023, we decided that I needed nutrition intervention. I was dropping weight. I was super malnourished. And so September 5th of 2023, I was admitted to Children's Hospital of Colorado to have an NG tube placed. So an NG tube is a nose that goes in your nose, down your throat, into your stomach. Yes, they put a tube into my stomach. Man, oh man, was that traumatic. So I had 3 different tubes placed on the 5th. All 3 were NGs, different times. And let's just say it was terrible. The first time wasn't terrible, but it had flipped into my lungs. So we had to pull it, do it again. Second time, we done it, and it kinked on itself. So we had to pull it, do it again. The third time was a completely different nurse because we had switched to night shift at that point. She did not lube up the tube. She did not warn me. She just went. And it was so painful and so traumatic that the next day when education came in to teach me and my fiance how to place my NG, I had a panic attack because it hurt so bad. It was so traumatic. But the education people were amazing, and my nurses, besides my night shift nurse, were amazing, and I loved all of them. So I had an NG. The next interaction we had was with nutrition on November 7th of 2023, and it was regarding my formula. I had changed from a 1.0 formula to a 1.5 peptide formula because it's more broken down, because I wasn't tolerating the feeds into my stomach, because I have delayed gastric emptying, but they said I didn't have delayed gastric emptying. So I have an appointment on the 7th of October, or November. So November 7th is an appointment with GI. Plan was for me to switch to the pediatric peptide 1.5 to get more calories. I was feeding at 60 milliliters an hour for 19 hours a day. They wanted me to do something called a bolus feed, which is where you feed for like an hour and like the meal times of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's what they had started me on. And I wasn't tolerating it because I physically could not do it. It was terrible. So yeah. I had not had any changes in weight since then, nothing like that. So yeah. So then the next time, the next time I have an appointment with gastroenterology was not for a very long time after that, because I was in the process of moving over to UC Health for adults. So actually that was my last appointment. November 7th of 2023 was my last appointment with Children's Hospital GI Clinic. So then we move over to UC Health for adult GI. There we go. Words are hard. So looks like my initial appointment with them was November 29th of 2023 for adult GI. I felt so seen by him. Like, oh my gosh. I was started on 3 medications. I was started on Marinol, 5 milligrams twice a day for nausea, which I stopped taking really soon because that had medical CBD or like marijuana in it, and it made me feel high, and it was gross, and I hated it. And then I was started on Reglan, 10 milligrams twice a day before meals. The only hard part with Reglan is it's a black box label medication, because it can start to give shaking symptoms, which is it's mimicking Parkinson's syndrome, and unfortunately I have had to stop taking that. And then I take Linzess every morning, 145 mcg, I don't know, daily. And then I also am supposed to do Miralax 17 grams a day, but 2 to 3 times a day, but I don't. And then I was referred to UC Health GI Nutrition, obviously, with management of my feeding tube. So ironically, what's really funny is when I very first went to him, to the UC Health GI, I had the NG, so nasogastric. He thought I had an NJ. An NJ goes in your nose, down your throat, past your stomach, and into the second part of your small intestine, your jejunum. And typically when you have motility issues, when you're having gastro issues, you get an NJ. So he put in here management of nasal jejunal tube feeding. Because he was under the impression I had an NJ. Did not have an NJ. So that appointment was really great. Loved it. Was referred to go to nutrition. I had a nutrition appointment on December 28th of 2023 where we decided, with poor tolerance of my formula, we were possibly going to switch to an NJ to improve my tolerance. And then she suggested a referral to GI psychology, as this was previously, recommended by Children's. And so we had talked about a whole plan. Nothing really changed on that. It was kind of just to get my foot in the door. And then January 17th of 2024, I had an appointment and we decided that I was going to have my NG converted to an NJ. And then the plan was, if I tolerated NJ feeds after 4 weeks, we were going to proceed with getting a J tube placed, which is a surgical tube in your stomach. So, I had the referral to get my NG changed to an NJ. January 26th of 2024, my tube was changed to an NJ. Okay, so I had my NG changed to an NJ. In between that time, from first getting an appointment at UC Health GI Adult, I had a second gastric emptying study with eggs and toast. I don't know when it was. I am having a hard time finding it. But I know it's here. And that had come back as abnormal. December 6th of 2023, I had a repeat of my gastric emptying study. And then March 7th, 2024, I had my feeding tube placed. So I was supposed to get a J tube, a straight J tube, and a straight J tube goes straight into your jejunum from your abdomen. I do not have the anatomy for a straight J tube, so instead I was given a GJ feeding tube, which is a gastrojejunal feeding tube. This goes into your stomach, and then it has a tube that stops in the stomach, and then it has a little tail that follows all the way into your jejunum. So the reason we wanted to do a straight J is because obviously I throw up quite frequently, and with GJs, the J portion can flip out and into your stomach, and we didn't want that to be an issue for me. So, but unfortunately, because I was not a candidate of a straight J tube, I was given a GJ. And let me just tell you, that surgery was rough. I will do a whole other video on just that, simply because it was so incredibly rough, and there were so many different things that I probably could have done to help make that a little bit easier, but I did have some complications with it, which made it a little more difficult. But I was in the hospital from March 7th, and then I was discharged on March 10th. I then, on March 15th of 2024, went to the emergency department for extreme pain in my abdomen from my tube site. I was diagnosed with gastroparesis from my gastric emptying study. My gastric emptying study was relatively normal looking because my emptying time was still a relatively good time. It was still within the parameters, I think. But I hadn't eaten the entire meal. I couldn't finish it. I also had something else going on with there was an abnormality in like the first an hour scan. So I'm not really sure what it was, to be completely honest. But yeah, so I was diagnosed with gastroparesis after that second gastric emptying study. And so then April 1st, I had a follow-up appointment to discuss my everything. And that's kind of when he was like, okay, this is going to help your gastroparesis. This is what we're going to do. This is our game plan. And honestly, in the first appointment, he started off the first appointment with, we're going to treat this like this is gastroparesis. We're going to treat this as though this, even though everybody's saying it's not, we're going to treat it as it is. And the medication, Reglan, genuinely helps so much. It just makes me really tired and like lethargic. So, and I don't take it anymore. But he has been like amazing. I've had my tube flipped twice now. It is clipped twice in my jejunum and sutured in as of the last time I got it replaced. So I'm really hoping it just stays where it needs to be. So yeah. So that is kind of my story, what led up to this moment and all of this, and like what I've gone through. So I am lucky enough to have only taken 2 years, like actually being in the process of getting diagnosed, 2 years to get diagnosed with gastroparesis. And I know it takes people so much more time, but I want to say don't get discouraged. I felt so discouraged for so long, and then at one point I felt like maybe I am crazy. Maybe this is all in my head. Maybe there is nothing wrong with me and it's literally just brain gut. And it really took a toll on me for a while. And I would say just keep getting those second opinions until you find someone that you feel heard. And I feel like it's so hard because we don't want to seem like we're doctor shopping, you know? But like if a doctor's not listening to you, drop them. Nobody says you have to stay with them. You can gladly go get a second opinion or change who your care provider is. And I feel like so many people don't think that you can, and that's insane that you think you can't do that. And it's like I am so grateful that I changed from Children's to UC Health for GI, because I just kept getting told it's in my head, it was brain gut, it's because I'm a young teenage girl. And that was just so frustrating and so defeating, because it's like, you guys are the pros, you're professionals, this is what you do for a living, and you're telling me that this is what I'm living with, and I just need therapy to fix this, as I'm like literally feeling like I'm dying and I'm so malnourished. Like it was so defeating and so difficult to go through. And I wish that I had someone to talk to about this, that I had someone who understood what was going on. And it was hard. It was really hard. And honestly, it still can get hard now, even with a diagnosis, because there are still unknown things with my body that we're not quite sure of. And so it's trial and error, hit or miss type stuff. So yeah, but I hope that this video can help someone who might be going through this. And I hope that this video can give some insight or some guidance to people who might be going through something similar, or who are just freshly diagnosed, stuff like that. And I'm hoping to be able to be a resource and stuff like that. I truly feel like I have learned so much simply just by like doing my own research in the illnesses that I have. I feel like I've done so much research and have just, honestly, I every time I've been to the emergency room with my tube now, with a tube issue, they ask me questions about it. Most people don't know about feeding tubes. Most people don't know about gastroparesis. Most people, unfortunately, don't know about EDS or POTS. And it's like, POTS is not a rare condition. POTS is, dysautonomia is very common, but most people don't get diagnosed until years and years later because it's seen as anxiety, it's seen as other things, and it's so defeating. And I want people to understand, and I also want people to not feel ashamed of what they're living through. I felt ashamed for so long for what I was going through. I hid it from everybody that I possibly could. And I mean, I have a feeding tube sticking out of my stomach. Like, I still feel like I have to hide that sometimes. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a person I went to school with. I need to hide this thing. But it's like, no, it's a part of who I am. It's a part of my story. Let me flaunt it. Let me show everybody. Not flaunt it, I guess, but let me be confident in the body that I have, even if I have medical devices. Just because I have a medical device doesn't mean I'm any less worthy. And I think people forget that sometimes. I mean, the comments that I get, the stares that I get, I've had people tell me I shouldn't have kids. And they say, please don't reproduce. Please don't give this to a child. And it's like, that's hurtful. That is so incredibly hurtful. We live in a world surrounded by hate and hurt. And we just go and hurt people. And it's like, stop. Live life with love. Full of love and happiness and kindness. You don't need to judge or be rude or hate on someone for something like that. It's ridiculous, honestly. But that is my video, my life, my story. If you guys have any questions, I would love to do like a little Q&A type video where I'm just answering a bunch of your guys' questions. So if you have questions, comment them down below. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification button, so every time I post a new video, you can be notified and make sure you don't lose me. Along with also, if you have, like, if you want to know something about a chronic illness and you want me to do a video on it, put it in the comments. Say, hey, can you do a video on this? I don't see many videos on this because I want to be able to make videos. Even if I don't have the chronic illness, I will do my research. I will reach out to people that have that chronic illness. I will do my research and I will learn with you guys so that there is that resource. So please let me know if there's anything else you guys want to learn, and I will gladly learn it with you, and I will gladly share what I learn with you guys. So thanks for watching. Bye. I got some color back. She thinks so too.